Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. All right, I'm just setting up here. Go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I do have an update for you today. So I have a few updates that I wanted to let you know about. The first is that the USCIS has officially announced the fee increases on forms. So come April 1st, 2024, we will have new fees. So the fees are not for some of them, when I looked at the list, there's a long list, basically every form except for the T visa, VAWA, the T, U visa. These are still at the fee is still zero. So there's no fee for those applications. However, if you're doing family based, if you're doing family-based, employment-based, investment-based type applications, these do come with increased fees. If you're renewing your green card, removing conditions on your green card, you are going to be seeing higher fees as well. And, of course, adjustment of status fees have gone up. Yes, so EB2, you can expect those to go up too, because those are based on the I-140 petition, which that one has increased, as well as the I-485. If you go to my page, the page with all my videos on it, I have posted a video, and because the list is extensive. So I have provided a list of the fee increases there. And on the page where I'm talking, you also see a list of the main forms that people usually talk about. So the family-based petition, for example, the I-130, the adjustment of status, the I-485, the I-765. It's also on TikTok and on YouTube. I'll go ahead and post it after I come off of the live. I'll go ahead and post that video on the YouTube as well. So you can take the time and look at those fee increases so you can be prepared for them. On my end, while we're working to get our existing clients' applications in, of course, before the April 1st, you want to also make sure that you are taking the time to go through your application carefully and submit the best application. So if you don't rush and make mistakes, right? If you have to, or if you can, plan for those increased fees. If you are partway through preparing for your process, just make sure that you push forward to get it in before that date, and you could save some money. The increase is not as substantial as it was when it was announced last year, but it nevertheless, many applications are increased, and so you're going to see, you're going to pay more. But it's not going to be as much as it was before, but it's still going to be a lot. So, for example, adjustment of status application is so currently with the biometrics, which you usually have to pay for the biometrics, it's 1225. Now, after the increase, it's going to be 1440. But I believe last year when they proposed, it was around the 1700 mark. So they have not increased it as much as they were going to increase it. So that's the good thing. Now let's talk about the border. So as you can see, it's all over the news. The border is a mess, and right now we have Congress and the president negotiating. But now, even with Biden saying that he's willing to, um, you know, make concessions and he's willing to shut down the border, the Republicans' side are now saying, I guess it's not enough because they are saying that they are not going to. They're saying it's dead. The bill that supports the president's powers to shut down the border, they're refusing to move forward. So we have to see. I'm watching the situation to see, but we see a lot of things going on. There's a conflict going on between Border Patrol and then the National Guard under the order of the governor in Texas, who is keeping the CBP and Border Patrol away from the part of the border in Texas. So that should not be. And actually, the governor of Texas, so the Supreme Court had ordered the Texas not to give the federal officers access to the border because they're the ones that enforces immigration laws. But the governor has disobeyed the Supreme Court. And as a result, they're also not recognizing the Constitution because remember, there is something called the supremacy clause under the Constitution that says that the federal government has certain powers over the states. And in this case, the federal government is the one that enforces immigration law, not the states. But now the governor in Texas is trying to take over the border and enforce immigration law through the laws that pass in Texas. So that's a mess, and it is alarming that a governor in a state would disobey what the Supreme Court of the land has ordered him to do, and as a result of that, has also declined to follow the Constitution. So right now they haven't released any details. They haven't released a text of the bill that's going to authorize the president to shut down the border. But they're saying that if, based on what we're getting right now, if the president has the authority to shut down the border if a certain number of immigrants are crossing over and they feel the need to control the border, then at that point the president can shut down the border. That's the deal here, along with putting certain restrictions on asylum, and then also looking at what's called expedited removal, which has to do with right now the way expedited removal works is they will so anybody who has come into the country undocumented or illegally within the past 2 weeks can be removed without going through all the court process through expedited removal. They used to enforce that, or they currently are enforcing that within 100 miles of the border. But now they're looking at expanding that to national. And then I don't know if they are also going to include a larger group of people in this category of people who can go through expedited removal, because usually they have to be entering the country within the most recent 2 weeks. So we have yet to see what the details are, what they're finally agreeing on, and it looks like they're not agreeing on anything right now. So it might be dead in the water. So we'll have to see. But right now, that's the situation with the border. There's nothing that is going to affect, say, a broader population of immigrants here right now, but we'll have to wait and see. So make sure you get those applications in. Don't rush it. Make sure the quality of the application is going to be the most important thing, even if it means you have to pay more. Make sure you focus on quality. But if you're, almost there with getting your documentation in, make sure you get it in before April 1st if you want to save some money. All right, so I'm going to answer some questions. Go ahead and put the questions in the comments, and I'm going to answer those questions. So here, I see here on YouTube, So I've received my VAWA prima facie determination letter. After that, how long does it take for the fingerprints for travel document and the work permit? So the biometrics appointments are all over the place. Sometimes they come before the prima facie determination letter, sometimes they come afterwards. So it's hard to say when that biometrics appointment is coming, but it should be coming soon. Usually I see a biometrics within 2 months of applying. Its VAWA application will be affected by the new price increase, so no VAWA petition. So remember that I-360, you will see an increase on the list for I-360s. But remember that for VAWA, it should not go up. It should be zero. The T visa should be zero. Asylum should still be zero. So those will not go up. But remember, the I-360 petition serves for other purposes, such as for widows, special immigrants, religious workers, and so those they do have to pay those increased fees for that I-360. I got unemployed this month, and I'm filing for green card for my F1 spouse. I am a US citizen. My last 3 years, I had very good income as shown on W-2, more than 50K. Do I still need a joint sponsor? So once you no longer are currently employed, then you're going to need to show that you have either savings or you have assets that can make up for the lack of monthly current income, because they don't usually look at what your past income is. They still want to see proof that you're currently making the income, or that you have an asset such as savings, retirement, real estate, any asset that's valued money that can make up for and meet the requirements of the affidavit of support. So you might still need a joint sponsor. Is the SSN going to be sent after receiving the EAD with the VAWA, or does one have to apply for themselves? So it might be one or the other. Sometimes we do get the social security number. Most times we get the social security number shortly after the EAD, so 2 to 3 weeks after, sometimes a day after. But if it takes too long, then just go to the Social Security office with the EAD, and they will assist you to get the SSN. So don't be distressed. Just know that you can go to the Social Security office and order it yourself. When filing a family petition for spouse and spouse, do I put each petition in separate envelopes? So I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly how to do that. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. Because I'm not your lawyer. How soon after filing I-360 you can obtain a travel document? So keep in mind the I-360 doesn't get you the travel document. It's going to be the adjustment of status application along with your application for the travel document. The I-360 grants you VAWA deferred action after some time, with the processing time right now is looking to be 2.5 to 3 years. And you may be able to apply for a travel document after you've been granted that deferred action under VAWA. But the VAWA does not, the I-360 does not get you the ability to get the travel document. So VAWA fees will stay the same. So yes, VAWA fees should be the same. All right. So I am going through and answering questions. Put those questions in the comments. Keep putting them in, and I'm going to get to you. I'm scrolling through right now. What's the process if I want to bring my jeweler from Pakistan? So you have to go through what's called the EB3 process of sponsoring your employee or potential employee. So you have to go through Department of Labor, labor certification, and wage determination process. Then after that's approved, you can file the petition. The petition, will then be sent to the embassy after it's approved, and then the employee can come in with an immigrant visa if you're petitioning for a green card. Otherwise, you'd have to look at qualifications to see, do they qualify for something else like extraordinary ability? If this jeweler is very talented and they're at the top of their field, nobody does it like them, then they could potentially get the extraordinary ability visa, so O1 or the green card. So it just depends on the qualifications here of the jeweler to determine what would be best. Can you file in your paper immediately after marriage? Get legal advice. You may be able to, but what's going, is it advisable to do that? Do you have the right evidence? Are you prepared? And so forth. Um, I'm on K1 and just got married in the States. How long do I have to do AOS? Is there a deadline? So usually you have to get married within 90 days and then file the adjustment of status. Keep in mind that you do have your spouse. So no matter what, your US citizen spouse will always give you the option to then adjust status. But to stay within the I-129 F, the approved I-129F, you want to make sure you stay within the 90 days. Do you do VAWA? Yes, it's one of the main, is it one of the main practice areas. How long does replacement DACA usually take? I already been approved, but did not receive my card. So you need to get in touch with them. It shouldn't take more than a few weeks to get everything. 1 year and 3 months now. I got confirmation from Jamaica, no interview date. Yes, so it's going 1.5 years to maybe even 2 years to wait for that interview at the embassy. Can a U.S. citizen daughter file for her mother if the mother's visitor's visa got canceled years ago? So it depends on what the circumstances are. It may be able to, but we have to understand sometimes with a canceled visa means there's some kind of charge of misrepresentation along with it. Can I file for asylum with the C1D visa? So yes, it should not disqualify you from applying for asylum. Because you're basically seeking relief, they're a lot more flexible on the asylum. But the question is, do you qualify? This is where it's very important to schedule an appointment. All right, I'm trying to get to everybody. How can I contact you directly? Call the office, go to the link in the profile. You can schedule your appointment. That's how you're going to get in touch with me directly. Or you can call the office and they'll help you to schedule an appointment. Can a judge terminate removal proceedings, and can we AOS if we entered illegally? So you have to overcome some hurdles here. If you entered without permission, it's still a requirement. So even if the judge terminates the removal proceedings, you still have to figure out if you qualify despite the entry, the illegal entry. What advice do you have for an F1 graduate student who will graduate in May and also desirable of work permit visa? So make sure you're on top of the OPT. So that gives you 1 year to work after you graduate. And then after that, it really is a matter of, do you qualify through an employer who wants to recruit you or through family members? Can you help with someone who has EWE and has been here for 30 years? I have helped clients who have been in that situation and they've gotten status, but I need to understand exactly what happened in your situation to determine whether you qualify for one of the forms of relief that I help with. Can you help someone? So I answered that. I'm a J1 student that overstayed. I pay taxes. Is there any way possible I can apply for work permit? So you have to qualify in some way. Give me a call. It's not that easy to answer this question. I really do have to get to know you, get to know what you've been through, get to understand your circumstances to determine whether there's a way for you. There may be a way, but it's not as simple as, sure, you can go apply for your work permit. And I did a live recently, I think earlier or last week or earlier this week about that. I'm a conditional green card holder. I just got a 4-year extension while my card is being processed. Do you recommend traveling? You're still a green card holder. That 4-year extension will allow you to travel. Bring your original extension letter with your expired green card and your passport, whatever other documents you need, and you're fine. make sure it's an original, not the copy. If someone filed for VAWA, but it has been approved, it has not been approved yet, and that individual get prima facie, can that person file for expedite request if he or she is meeting financial hardship? It's possible, but it's really ultimately up to the immigration. How can I get annulled from marriage, which a person married me while still married? Now, keep in mind that may qualify you for VAWA. So, if someone knowingly marries you, knowing they're already married, that could be a VAWA issue. So, get legal advice. And you may not want to annul it in that case. You want to get legal advice first. I'm not a divorce attorney, so you'd have to talk to a divorce attorney about getting it annulled. But figure out your immigration options too. Is it advisable for someone to travel back to their country after filing for asylum? Maybe. It depends on the circumstances in the country. It usually it's if you file an asylum saying you can't go back, then it's going to raise questions about why is it you're going back to the country that you said you couldn't return to. Do I place spouse and stepchild petition? Okay, so my mom is a U.S. citizen. Can I just status a green card? Came through the Mexican border illegally? No. So, especially if you're over 21, it's not going to be that simple. Does the embassy schedule an interview for spouse and children at the same time, or is it separate? So in most cases, it's at the same time, especially when it becomes clear that if they're family members. All right, so I'm going to answer how much is a consultation? It's 150. How long for citizen parents to ask for 21 plus married son? So 14 over 12 years. I-130 is approved. What's the next step? It's going to go to the embassy where they're going to call you for an interview, or you can apply for adjustment of status if you're here in the US. If you filed before April 1st, 20, does the new fee affect you? No. So it's not going to affect you if you file before that date. Sarah girl, you're welcome. All right. I have last question here, and then I'm going to head out. Which petition is preferable to submit alongside VAWA for an individual that has previous misrepresentation, I-601, or prosecutorial discretion, or cancellation of removal? So they're not the same. So prosecutorial discretion is not, that's not even a form on the USCIS website. So it's going to depend here on what's going on. I highly recommend you get legal advice at this point and representation, because it sounds like you have a complex case going on. If you're asking about cancellation of removal, prosecutorial discretion, or an I-601, they all are different. Andrew J., you're welcome. Who can apply for DACA? So right now, DACA is on hold. So that's the first thing, unfortunately. However, you have to meet certain physical presence requirements. If you came into the country before a certain date, which I believe is sometime in some years ago, then you can qualify for DACA. I'd have to pull up the exact requirements here. Is the consultation 1 hour? No, so it's 30 minutes. If you've applied for someone in the humanitarian program and it's been a year and still no approval, so it's going to depend on the processing times here. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time. I will work to get here tomorrow again at lunchtime to discuss updates on immigration and also answer your questions. So thanks again. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.